This is our video for Unit 6, Lesson 8. This is the last lesson where we're really reviewing material from 8th grade. Moving forward, we're going to be covering a lot more of the brand new material with exponentials in class, but there will still be videos available in case you missed class or need to rewatch one to review some ideas. So before we get into exponential functions, a lot of exponential functions involve percents. So I wanted to have you review percents before we got into some of the work with exponentials and percents. A couple important things to remember. A percent is a ratio out of 100. So remember, a percent is a number over 100. And it compares two quantities in a proportional relationship. So exercise 1 talks about Jonathan and Michaela and them getting some raises at their work. So Jonathan's getting a raise from $12.50, so this was where he started, to $14.75. His supervisor, Michaela, is getting a raise from $22, so that's where she started, to $25.30. Okay. The first question A says, how much in terms of dollars per hour is Jonathan's salary going up? So to find that out, I would just subtract these two. And I end up with $2.25. What's important is this next piece. By what percent is Jonathan's salary increasing? So it's important to remember this part here, comparing two quantities. We're comparing the amount that Jonathan's salary increased to his original salary. And then to turn it into a percent, we multiply it by 100. So the amount his salary increased was $2.25. We always want to compare it to the original or the amount he started with. So that is $12.50. And then percent, I want to multiply it by 100. So I'm going to do 2.25 over 1250 times 100. And what I get is that his salary increased by 18%. Now let's look at Michaela. So Michaela, we want to know oh, this is weird. Who received a larger increase of salary in terms of dollars per hour? So we now need to look at Michaela. So Michaela was at $25.30. That was her new raise. She started at 22. So her salary increased by $3.50. So when we look at the amount of increase, Michaela got a larger increase in terms of money. Let's say total money. But we have to be careful because they weren't both earning the same amount. Michaela was earning more to start with. So if I want to figure out who received the larger percent increase, I'm going to take the difference in Michaela's earnings, which was $3.50. I'm going to divide it by where she started, the original, which was 22, and then multiply by 100. So again, in the calculator, I've got 3.5 out of 22 times 100. And when I look at that as a percent, she got a 15.91% increase. So Jonathan got the larger percent increase. Again, because they weren't originally making the same amount, we can't compare strictly dollars to dollars. We have to really consider the amount that their salary was increased, what percent of what they started with was that, okay? So that's just a really quick review with how we find a percent. Exercise 2. It says Gabe is buying a pair of jeans at a local store and they're priced at $45. He knows the county he lives in has an 8% sales tax added to the price. If Gabe has a gift card for $50, will it cover the cost of the jeans and the tax? So first thing I've got to figure out is how much is the tax? Well, the tax is going to be 8% of whatever the cost of the jeans are. And in this case, it's $45. Hopefully you remember that 8% is 8 over 100. And if I divide 8 by 100 in my calculator and use my control equals, I get that 8 over 100 is 0.08. You might even remember a little trick. If you have a number if you have a percent and you want to turn it into a number that you can do calculations with, you move the decimal back 2 places and put a 0 in any empty spots. So if I want to know how much the tax is, I'm going to take 8%. Well, 8% as a number is 0.08 times 45. 0.08 times 45 is 3.6. Always go back and say, okay, if this is a tax, do I add it onto the price or take it off? Well, we're going to add it on because tax is what you pay on top of the cost. So the total cost will be $48.60. And yes, there will be enough money because they've got $50. Okay. Let's look at another one. We're going to move a little faster on this one. So on this one, it says the population of deer is predicted to decline by 5% this year. If the current population is 560, what is the population predicted for next year? So we need to find out, first of all, what 5% of 560 is. Remember, 5%, if we want to do calculations with a percent, we have to turn it into a decimal. And that's 0.05 times 560. So if I do 0.05 times 560, I get 28. Since the population is declining by that 5%, I need to subtract that from how many deer there are now. And what that ends up giving me is 532 deer. One more, and then you're going to try some. Okay, so on exercise 4, part A, we're going to skip. If I want to leave a 15% tip on a meal that costs $35, we're going to find out how much that is. So I need to figure out what 15% of 35 is. I've got to turn 15% into its equivalent decimal form. So that would be 0.15 times 35. When I multiply those together, I end up with $5.25. So the tip that I would need to leave is $5.25. Okay. I would like you to go to page 33 in your notes packet, and you are going to pause the video and try number 5, 6, and 7. So go ahead and pause the video and give those a try. Okay, here are the solutions to those. If there were ones that you did not get right and you're not sure why, please circle them. At the beginning of next class, we'll be talking through any of these that you were not sure about. But try to take some time to figure out where your mistake might have been. I'm going to scroll down so you can see 7. And we're going to move right along. Okay, so go back a page. Finding percents by multiplying. So this is actually that same idea of what we were doing before. A percent is out of 100. So I have to divide it by 100 in order to express it as a decimal. P over 100 moves the decimal left 2 places. So down here, if I want to find 20% of 85, I start by putting my decimal in 20 and moving it back 2 places. That would be 0.20 times 85. I can go ahead and enter that into my calculator. And I actually have these numbers written down. Oh, I guess I don't. So 0.2 times 85 is going to give me 17. What I'd like you to try is B, C, D, E, and F. So pause the video and try those, and then hit play to check your work. Okay. 12% as a decimal is 0.12. And you can multiply those out. You should get 24. 6% is a decimal. To move the decimal back 2, we're going to need to put a 0 in there. So it should be 0.06 times 550. And that's going to give us 33. For 0.5%, a lot of people mistakenly assume that 4.5% is already a decimal. It's not. I still need to divide it by 100, which means I still need to move that back 2 places. So that would be 0.045 times 120. And that's going to give me 5.4. 36% is 0.36 times 96. Now, that did not come out to a nice number, but I'm still going to write it down. It's 34.56. And then be careful here. If you see a percent written as a fraction, change it to a decimal. So it's 2.14 is 25%. I still need to move my decimal back 2. So I get 0.0225 times 350. Whoops, and I entered it wrong. There we go. And I get 7.875. So those are some quick ways that we can find a percent of a number. Exercise 6, which of the following calculations would find 8.5% of 250? Again, it's if your percent symbol's there, you've got to move the decimal. So I got to move it back 2 so that it's a number I can do a calculation with. 0.085 times 250. Always double check. We want the one that would work. So that's going to be number 4. The price of gasoline this week is $3.60 per gallon. It's projected to increase by 15% next week. How much will it increase? So I've got to find 15% of $3.60. So that would be 0.15 times 360. And that's going to give me 54 cents. What will its price next week be? So since it's increasing, it would be 360 plus 54 cents. And altogether, that would give me $4.14. What I would like you to try now is go back to page 32 in your notes packet. You're going to skip number 1, and I want you to try number 2, 3, and 4. Pause the video and give those a try. Once you complete them, click play to check your work. And here's the solutions. So again, please check them over. See if you agree or disagree what you might have done differently, and come into class on Wednesday prepared to ask some of those questions, okay? We'll start class with going over any questions you have from this lesson. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.